joining me for the continuance of our Get Into the Property Groove for 2017 campaign here on Property Tribes, a whole month of content to get you really fired up for a successful year. And there's been so much doom and gloom and negativity around at the moment that we wanted to create something really positive. And who better and who more positive than the lovely Kate Faulkner, industry commentator and analyst. And Kate, yes, there is doom and gloom about, there's negativity, there's shocks from government, there's interference. But for 2017, what is there positive for landlords?
Well, bizarrely, all that doom and gloom. Because if everybody's running around going, oh my word, the whole world is uncertain and we've no idea what's going to happen next, that is the best news that landlords could ever had. So for existing landlords who are letting to people, you're not really going to commit to buying a property for the next 25 to 30 years if you hear that the property price market, for example, isn't doing very well. And those are the forecasts for next year. We've got forecasts of prices going down by 2 or 3%. We've already seen falls in London. They were to be expected. But that means that unlike the last few years, there's some fantastic opportunities for landlords that know what they're doing or take the right advice to be able to grab some fantastic bargains. So you make money in property when you buy, you just reap the rewards when you sell. So firstly, it could well be an extremely good year to purchase a property at a discount, and that's been quite tough to do over the last few years. The second thing is, if you're renting to an existing tenant, they're not likely to be going very far at this moment in time. Although the autumn statement is giving a little bit of extra money to people, it's good news in that you will have increased costs as a landlord, you will have increased taxes as a landlord, and you're going to start seeing those filter through in the next few years. But as long as wages are rising, and they're rising above the cost of living, i.e. inflation, which they should just for next year because of the increase in the minimum wage and the increase in the personal allowance, that should allow you as a landlord to be able to push up your rents. And remember, you should always push up rents, if you can, in line with the cost of living. It's expected to be about 2% next year, so it's not a massive increase, but get that in early because you're going to have quite a few. That'll help you cover some of the cost increases that you've got. So good news from a rental front as far as demand is concerned. Good news from a rental growth perspective. That could have been kiboshed for next year, but I think it's still on the cards. Great news from a property bargain perspective. If you're looking to sell your portfolio, if you bought it 10 years ago, don't worry so much because you'll have hopefully have done well financially, certainly if it's 15 or more. But if you don't have to sell, you are probably better off waiting for another year or two before you do that, so that we get used to this kind of more uncertain world. But I think with property, the one thing I like about it is there's always ways to make money. Yeah. And for me, the best way to make money now, I built the Self-Build and Renovation Centre, which is down in Swindon. Get your backside down there and go and understand how you can buy land, build an amazing spec of a rental property which suits renting properties long term from a build perspective. You can add up to 30% capital growth the day that can go on the mortgage market. And of course you'll boost your yields because you won't pay as much stamp duty because you bought the land. You've got the value of the property increased. Your yields will be a lot better. So more importantly, we need more homes.
We do, and that was going to sort of take me on to my next point, is that yes, we've got government interference and landlords being hammered, but ultimately the rental market in the UK is based on supply and demand, and no matter what government does, they can't, unless they introduce massive anti-immigration policies and so on, they can't influence that. So actually, we know that immigration is still a major issue in this country, and there's still a massive demand for the private rented sector.
Absolutely. I find it completely confusing as to why anybody thinks that the only people renting can't afford to buy. The last government, government by two, I think now, virtually doubled the population of students. Well, they ain't going to buy. Why would they buy? It wouldn't make sense. So we've got massive increase in demand there. You've got, as you might rightly say, the increase in migration. There is still an increase in divorce, and it doesn't always make sense for both parties to buy another property. You need time, a year, 2 years to get settled, and it makes sensible to rent, to rent a property. If you are, I think as I said in the piece, I was a young lad, he used to work for me, did some work experience with me. He's now being a consultant, he's been moved around the country, here, there and everywhere, because they're giving youngsters more responsibility. That's why he's renting. It's not a bad reason. So I think it's about time we've got to stop looking at the rental market as this bad thing to get rid of. It isn't. Actually, whether the government likes it or not, whether tenant groups like it or not, it is on the up. And of course, the biggest growth for the rental market is successive governments not wanting to build social homes. So we have 1.4 million people on the council house waiting register, and the only place they have to live is in the private rented sector. So if the government wants to tackle that, they should get on with it.
No, I totally agree. And just finally, Kate, I think that 2017, as you said, wherever there is a threat, there is an opportunity. It's going to be the landlords that see that opportunity, get the right advice and the right support, who are the landlords that are going to thrive and survive. And I know you're a massive advocate of landlord education and landlords working and developing a strong relationship with their local agent.
Oh, absolutely. So you've got, as a landlord now, you should not be doing that job unless you got a member of something like the Residential Landlords Association or the NLA or a local authority accreditation scheme, or you use an agent such as NELS, for example. Make sure they're a self-regulated member of a trade organisation so they can keep up with the laws, and make sure you have a good broker. My word, if you haven't been checking your mortgage over the last 12 months, you are handing money hand over fist probably to the banks, and I'm not sure that they want to make them more profit at your own expense, so think about that. And also the biggest person you need by your side, which most landlords fail to do, is have a really good tax expert. Without that, I'm really sorry, you are going to have no idea what you're going to earn in the next 2 years. So get your team in place, make sure they're a team that suits you, but get the right advice, pay for it, because it will pay you lots of dividends. And if you don't, I'm sorry, you're going to really fall over at some point. And with new rules coming in where landlords can be charged individually 30 grand if they make a mistake, now's the time to get the experts and professionals in. This is not a DIY job.